Headdresses are the most universally recognized symbol of the American Indian. The headdress is a very important part of Native American culture, but it is more symbolic than anything else. Most people think that the feathered headdress typifies what all Indians wear. However, it is important to understand that headdresses come out of very specific tribal contexts. Therefore, one should be cautious not to assume that a feathered headdress is meaningful, symbolic, of or relevant to all tribes or Indianness in general. This film focuses on 3 types of headdresses of the Plains Indians: feather war bonnets, buffalo headdresses, and roach headdresses. Plains Indians considered the eagle to be the greatest and most powerful bird, and thus the finest bonnets were made out of its feathers. When one received an eagle feather, that person was acknowledged with gratitude, love, and ultimate respect. The holder of the feather had the duty to ensure that if anything had the ability to change their state of mind, it would not come in contact with the sacred eagle feather itself. The keeper of an eagle feather would make a little home where the feather would be kept safely and protected. Eagle feathers were never to be abused, shown disrespect, dropped, or contaminated. It was clear that only true men and women were allowed to carry one of these feathers. Dancers of the Plains tribes use eagle feathers as part of their dance regalia. An example of this is the Eagle Dance of the Creek in Cherokee. During this dance, if for any reason an eagle feather would be dropped, it would have to be cleansed. The arena director's job was to guard the eagle feather and not leave the spot until the proper cleansing ceremony was performed. Eagle feathers were awarded to warriors and to chieftains for extreme acts of heroism and bravery. These feathers were difficult to come by and were earned one at a time. Regardless of where or how one accumulated eagle feathers, one was not allowed, according to tribal law, to wear them until they won them by a brave deed. The individual had to appear before the tribal council and tell or reenact their exploit. Witnesses were examined, and if in the eyes of the council the deed was thought worthy, one was then allowed to wear the feathers in their hair, in an Indian headdress, or in an Indian war bonnet. The Sioux were the first to create the war bonnet, and it was mostly the Plains Indians who made them. The war bonnet was rarely worn on the battlefield. The elaborate feathers and length of the headdress alone would have made fighting difficult. The bonnet was only worn on special occasions, and it was highly symbolic. Its beauty was of secondary importance, because the bonnet's real value was in its power to protect the wearer. The bonnet had to be earned by doing good and great deeds for the tribe and others. Each feather earned told a unique story. Some stories involved killing, scalping, capturing an enemy's weapon and shield, and told whether the act had been done on horseback or foot. Some warriors were only able to obtain 2 or 3 honor feathers in their whole lifetime, because these feathers were really difficult to receive. The bonnet was also a mark of highest respect, because it could never be worn without the consent of the leaders of the tribe. A native had to appear before the tribal council and tell or reenact his exploit. Witnesses were examined, and if in the eyes of the council the deed was thought worthy, the Indian was awarded a feather. After about 10 hours had been won, the warrior went out to gather the feathers with which to make his bonnet. In some tribes, these had to be purchased from an individual given special permission to hunt the bird. Some tribes permitted a warrior to hunt his own eagles. This was a dangerous and time-consuming mission, and meant that the native had to leave the tribe and travel to a place where the bird could be found. When the destination had been reached, ceremonies were conducted to ask the spirits of the birds to be killed. From there, the bonnet was made. It is evident that the feather war bonnets represented power, honor, and respect to the Plains Indians. The buffalo headdress is less well known today than the feathered war bonnet, yet it held a great significance in the eyes of Plains Indian warriors. Like feather war bonnets, buffalo horn headdresses were traditional regalia of certain Indian warriors. The common style of the horn bonnet was generally the same in all cases. There was a buffalo hide skull cap with the tail hanging from its back side. The tail was made in 2 lengths. There was a short length which consisted of a buffalo hide tail and a full-length tail that hung from the bonnet to the ground. The spiritual and ceremonial importance of horn headdresses to the Plains Indians was similar to that of feathered war bonnets. Only distinguished male warriors wore this sacred kind of regalia. Like mentioned before, horn headdresses were rare. This was for 2 reasons. Fewer tribes used this type of headdress, and only warriors of certain clans or who had accomplished specific deeds were able to wear bison horns. The Sioux were one of the few tribes that used the buffalo headdress. Sioux warriors who owned these would believe they had the dignity, the strength, the toughness, and the stamina of a bull buffalo. It was expected that they would conduct themselves accordingly as leaders of the tribe and in raids and wars in defense of their people. Roach headdresses, which resemble the Mohawk haircut, were another form of widely used headdresses by the Plains Indians. The roach headdress is said to have originated in the custom of shaving all the hair from the head except for a narrow strip running from the crown to the base of the neck. Later animal hair such as porcupine hair, deer tail hair, and turkey beard hair were added to the dancer's hair to make the Mohawk effect. Paintings done by George Catlin in 1830s and 1840s illustrated this type of headdress. His painting in 1845 of the White Cloud head chief of the Iowas showed this hairstyle with the addition of animal hair. The roach headdress was for the most part an ornament worn by Plains Indian dancers. The making of this headdress varied tribe to tribe. Warriors of Omaha wore a roach made of deer's tail hair and turkey neck hair. These were dyed red to authorize one who had won achievement honors. The warriors of other tribes made their roaches with stiff moose hairs, porcupine hairs, and the white hairs from a deer's tail. When finished, they stood upright on the top and back of the warrior's head. Some roaches were dyed in fine colors such as orange and purple. There was a time that the deer tail hair was dyed to indicate meaning. The hair was dyed red to indicate that the dancer was a warrior or veteran who had been in combat. If the deer tail hair was left natural or white, it revealed that the dancer had not been in combat. In terms of sacred significance, the roach headdress was not as spiritually meaningful as a war bonnet. However, in some Plains tribes, a young man wearing a roach headdress for the first time was celebrated. The roach headdress is very unique and continues to have a great significance to many Plains Indian tribes today. The headdress is the most universally recognized symbol of the Native American Indian. It is an artifact that many instinctively associate to this culture, and often the significance of the headdress is overlooked. Looking deeper into its symbolism, one can see that although the type of headdress varies from tribe to tribe, there is a commonly found meaning associated to it. The headdress is a symbol of honor and conveys the strength and bravery these Native American Indians possessed.